Hi everybody, this is Lawrence Mann and this is Lawrence Can Draw. Today I'm going to be interviewing Justice Frangipane, and he is the creator of Tablet Pro. And that is an application, some of you might have seen me review this before. This is the on-screen hotkeys, and that is absolutely great if you are using a device such as the Surface Pro that doesn't have hotkeys down the side, and absolutely essential if you're using a Surface Studio, anything like that. I'm gonna turn this over now to Justice and let him tell you all about the product.
Hey Lawrence, thanks for having me on the show.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks. Yeah, so Tablet Pro is, as you mentioned, it's the easiest to install of all the hotkey applications, which does not mean it's easy to install, but
it certainly is. It certainly is. I tried a lot of them and gave up kind of halfway through, if that, quarter of the way through installation process. This is pretty much, well, it is the only one I have installed because it was the only one I could get installed.
It's a tolerable install process, and that's about as good as I can say. No, this is probably our biggest thing that we look forward to fixing in the future. But yeah, it's a great software. It's one that I use all the time when I draw, and anytime I'm not using it, it causes a lot of anger. I have anger issues, which you can tell by my smiling, laughing face. So yeah, it's one of those things that when you're not using it, it feels like you're moving at about a quarter of the speed that you're used to, and no one likes running through mud. I don't.
That's your elevator pitch for it.
That's elevator pitch. So you guys like running through mud, then we're your guys.
So, why is the installation process so hard on this? I mean, I talked to a couple of software developers who kind of ran me through what they believed was the problem with this, but...
All right, so the actual technical issues for why it's difficult, what our goal is we want to have a one-click install and uninstall so that people can get it in. If they want to take it out, they can take it out. We respect people's ability to do whatever they want with their software, and it shouldn't affect anything else. The way that we've been selling the software is through the Windows Store, and the Windows Store does a great job of validating software, just making the customer feel comfortable with whatever they're installing, as well as an easy place for people who already have payment information set up. However, it's not a fully robust system yet. So the Windows Store installs things into a container, and that container allows you to not have files that leak over into other softwares. You're not creating conflicts, and there's a lot of benefits to it. However, it doesn't support something called UI access. UI access is what allows us to deeply connect with the operating system so that we can provide the touch functionality. So if we were to put it in the Windows Store, every single time that you started it, you'd have to click Elevate to Administrator. You'd have to give it permissions each time that you started, as well as some of the functions won't work at all. And so we would have a much less functional program. And so that's something that they've had on the books for 2 years to add. And so we've been going in this kind of hesitant process where we've wanted to add it to the store, like the whole thing to the store, and assume that they'll get the thing working, but it just hasn't hit priority for them yet. So
you're just waiting for the Windows operating system to catch up, really?
Yeah, so the software works best when it's installed from the desktop instead of from the Windows Store.
Yeah.
And so we're going, okay, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and there's ways that we can make the install process simpler and easier that we're working on. And it's one of those things that's going to take you, if you have good instructions on how to do it, then it's going to take you 2 minutes. and hopefully not be frustrating. And then you'll get past that part and get to using the software and hopefully forget how the install process grief.
Because I think that's the only thing holding a lot of users back in terms of installing Tablet Pro or something like Tablet Pro in their devices. Because I get a lot of questions, on tablet videos, asking for radial menus, asking for buttons that can swap over monitors, pen switching to different monitors, asking for on-screen hotkeys, and just simple things that I know Tablet Pro can do, or that Tablet Pro could do.
Right. Yeah, we're set up to be very powerful and solve a lot of different problems once we solve some of the install problems. Yeah, it should get. I agree. I think it is probably the biggest hiccup that people have when they're thinking about trying software like ours.
I know I know when I first looked at it, the instruction as well. I looked at it and I kind of had to read that about 5 times.
Right.
And I would say I'm pretty good at following instructions, but it is quite complicated. At the moment, you're only on Windows, aren't you?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that going to change at all in the future?
I hope so. I'm hoping that we can get an iOS version out sometime this year, early next year. It would definitely be a trimmed down version, but I still think that the main thing that people are needing is hotkeys or keyboard keys without the keyboard for their iPads, especially the iPad Pro, 10.5 and 12.9 inch.
Yeah. I mean, I think for most users, if you can get, the kind of Shift, Command, Alt, space bar, the basics like that, undo, redo.
Yeah.
That's all most people need. Digital artists, anyway.
Right. Yeah. Just something to the processes that we use 1,000 times a session.
Yeah.
Like having those easily accessible, so it's comfortable and not like this weird, awkward place where your thumb is cramping and your eyes twitching a little bit.
Yeah. If you can get those basics down, at least to begin with, for me, if I had, say, an iPad Pro, that would be good enough in the beginning, version 1. That'd be enough.
Yeah, minimum viable product.
Yeah. Guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Let Justice know, especially because he's obviously going to be the one making this and his team. Right. So let him know in the comments what you want. Put that down below, and obviously he'll be the one sorting that out. So if you want anything in particular, this is the time to let him know what you want in the iOS version or even in the Windows version. But be specific which version you're using and let him know all the features that you'd like in the next version of Tablet Pro.
Yeah, we do a lot of catering to what our users want. So I think that probably the best thing about Tablet Pro is our community has been really, really involved. So we ask a lot of questions about what's missing, what they still need. And I'm an artist, and so for me, it's something that when I'm using it, we, have a problem with something, and I go, okay, well, we need to fix that. We need to change that because it's, causing some agitation or slowing down my workflow. For the iOS version, there is a big issue. Currently, the screen will split into half or into a quarter and 3/4. So it would pretty much the first version of Tablet Pro is probably going to be on 25% of the screen, which is massive. And you'd have 125 buttons on.
Yeah, Android pretty much does the same thing as well, and you kind of scraping it back and forth trying to get the screen share to slide, and some apps do it and some apps don't. And
yeah, so it's probably going to be a little clunky and way too big, but if it works, and then we can get Apple on board with making the ability to make a 12.5% or 10% split screen view, which technically is just a matter of adjusting the variables.
Yeah. Would it be Apple who do that, or might it be the individual apps?
Well, I think they have to allow it. I think it's a parented function. So they would say, okay, we're going to allow split screen view to stop at 50% and 25% and 12.5%.
Right.
And once they give us that variable to work with, then everything should by default work with that. Yeah. And since they have the different sizes of iPad screens already, the difference between the 12 and 12.9, it's 12.9, right?
Yeah.
I think 12.9 and 10.5. The difference between those two is roughly 12.5% of the 12.9 inch one. Yeah. Who cares? Anyway, details, yeah. But one. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. I just thought that some, a certain level of that might lie with the individual. Say, like Clip Studio is now on the iPad Pro, so I thought a certain level of that might lie with them.
Yeah, it could. And the way that they have it scaling should be done so that it can handle the different sizes.
Because if it was just in their ballpark, it might actually be easier to deal with.
Right. Yeah. Because you could just contact them individually instead of giant Apple.
Yeah.
Hey, I do want to clarify something for anyone who's watching. So Tablet Pro is run by two people, by myself, and I'm Justice, hi, and then Takashi, who is in Japan. And Takashi is the main programmer. He's really the brains in the operation, and he's phenomenal at what he does. But he started the project, and then I joined with him probably 4.5 years ago. Yeah, 4.5 years ago. Joined with him because I liked the software. So he did a huge bulk of the work and deserves a massive amount of appreciation.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. I thought you just started it together.
Yeah, no, he had written something before, and it's actually Splashtop Remote. Have you used that software?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Splashtop. They had a trackpad on the screen, so you'd mirror your computer to your phone, and then it would give you a trackpad overlay. And I was using that, and I was thinking, wow, this is easier than using my trackpad or my computer at home. And, it wasn't, but it was a feature that was missing. And so I spent a couple years looking for that to see if anyone had made anything, and eventually found his work, and he had independently made it. And it was a lot more powerful, actually, than what I was thinking it would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got really excited. I was like, okay, this is amazing. I've got to get on board.
So you had to figure out a way to talk to him. Yeah. No, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I spammed him like 7 emails the first day. I have a little bit of a spaz.
Nothing wrong with that. I do the same. I get excited and then reach out and try and talk to people, and either they don't respond, so I'll like wait a couple of days and then just hammer them until they submit, or or I take a hump and then go to their competition. But just going back to what we were saying about if people have any ideas that they can contact you, that they should put them down in the comments. Also, yes. If people want to contact you with ideas, obviously I'm subscribed to your newsletter, so I get your email newsletter all the time. Mm-hmm. But if people do want to kind of send you ideas, how can they do that? Is there a submit form for ideas and feedback?
Well, probably the easiest way to do it is just my email.
Okay, I didn't want to give that out, but
yeah. And my cell phone number is my email is.
I'm normally in around the hour, so
my waist size is. The email address is justice@tabletpro.com. And feel free to email me there. Comments in the comment section here are great as well. It helps keep them centered. And the nice thing about comments is you can go back up and read what other people have said. So having I actually like having repetitive suggestions because it really helps me know what it is. But for people who are writing repetitive suggestions, it can be easier to just say, yo, me too. Yeah. I totally agree with Skater Boy 1927. I'm in on that. And that's easier if it takes a lot less work. And sometimes they give a suggestion that you go, oh, you know what, that's better than mine. I'm not going to spend 2 hours writing an email. Yeah. I'm just going to go, yeah, that's what I want.
Well, it's nice when people read through the suggestions and then just like you said, either second it or comment on it, because if people do that, sometimes you see a suggestion that you really like, but you just think, oh, actually, it'd be nice if you also did this, if you added to it and made it better by doing this.
Yeah, you get inspired. And
because how often do you see something and then think, oh, if you just tweaked it a bit, you know?
Yeah. It's the whole standing on the shoulders of giants things. And that's how all of us have made anything great. And really, Tablet Pro, like I said, the reason that we do a good job is because we've had phenomenal artists from all across the spectrum giving us feedback, and we take it seriously. It's important to us.
Yeah. I mean, I've reviewed a lot of devices over the last 3 years while I've been on YouTube, and the amount of devices that have not had hotkeys, there's been quite a lot of them, and I've had Tablet Pro installed on quite a few of those. I've had Tablet Pro installed on devices with hotkeys as well, but the good thing is, quite a few times when I've just moved my Microsoft account over to a new device, Tablet Pro's just appeared on it.
Right, yeah.
And so that works really well.
Yeah, your license travels with your Microsoft account.
Yeah.
So you're not looking for it and trying to find, where did that go and where's my license key and all that stuff. That part's actually really easy. A good benefit.
Yeah. So if I've installed it on my main computer, and then I've got a new tablet, I've opened it up, installed my Windows account, and then bang, Tablet Pro's just there.
Right, yeah.
But it's worked really well, and so all of the Surface devices that I've gotten and reviewed, it's just appeared on, and it works really well on the Surface devices. Was there one device that you had in mind when you've been working on it? Has it been the Surface? It kind of felt like it was the Surface.
Yeah, and we've kind of tried to cater to the biggest markets, and as it is, the biggest one, in my estimation, is the Surface line. Yeah. I think that Microsoft has really done a good job going out ahead of the crowd and forging their way, and so for that reason, I think it's good to cater to the ones who are defining the new trends and the new standards. Yeah. That said, there's some things that we don't work well on. Some of the older devices that are not set up for Windows Touch, like 10-point multi-touch, doesn't work as well. And then there's another limiting factor that I wanted to bring up.
A lot of those seem to be the smaller 8-inch devices, though, to be fair.
Right. And then even the newer ones work great. It's just the older standard until Windows did a good job. Microsoft did a good job creating a standard that everyone is adapting to. And so they've also done that on the software side. So they have the new Windows Touch APIs that allow for simultaneous pen and touch, which is really what everyone wants. They want to be able to press the button on the side of the screen and have it behave exactly like the keyboard key. Yeah. Which some of the big name software programs like Photoshop and ZBrush and some of the really big ones that have been around for 20 years or longer are not set up for Windows, their new Touch API, which means they work, but not the way that we had expected them to. And so my belief is that as we move forward, things are just going to get better and better, and everything's going to work the way you were expecting. It's just not yet.
Those guys have had to kind of jam it in sideways
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to some of those guys, some of the developers, some of the companies, and they've really had to kind of force it in sideways to their software.
Right.
Because the trouble is with them, they were 32-bit software.
Mm-hmm.
When 64-bit came around, what, about 4 or 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
They remade their entire software for 64-bit.
Right.
Now everything's moving over to tablet. They've basically said, we're not doing this again. We're not rebuilding our software again from scratch. Screw you guys.
Yeah.
You can wait a few more years before we rebuild this from scratch.
Yeah.
I think that's what everyone's pretty much saying. I don't blame them because it makes business sense to just say we're not putting all that effort in again. It costs too much. There's a lot of talk at the minute. People are getting very excited on iOS about, Photoshop's coming over to iOS.
Yeah.
I've talked to a couple of people and they're just saying,
yeah, who said that's happening?
No one said that.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And even if it did, it would be, you remember there was like a Photoshop Elements app?
Mm-hmm.
And it got panned for being absolutely rubbish?
Yeah.
It would be a slightly better version of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't, without having a built-in system to handle legacy applications in the tablet mode, you really are looking at something that's going to be just epically slow. Mm. And it's not because the hardware is slow. It's just because the interaction hasn't been advanced to adapt to it. And you need hotkeys and you need a mouse pointer, which is, thankfully that's what we do. And we do on-screen trackpads and hotkeys so that you can use legacy application on a tablet. But yeah, I don't blame them. And Microsoft, they've done a fantastic job of getting the creative aspect up to speed so that we have simultaneous pen and touch, and so that we have these almost their pens and pen experiences. They're really close, and just that jitter, get the jitter out and we're good. We're almost there, but I think everyone, like you said, they're waiting for it to level out, and Microsoft just isn't there yet. And so it's like, okay, well, let's let them finish doing what they're doing, and then we'll adjust and match up with what they've done.
Well, Microsoft's ink experience has caused major issues for a lot of tablet companies over the last few months. I mean, Wacom's drivers, for example, there was a big fuss on the internet about everybody's tablets just going haywire. And everybody, a lot of people blamed Wacom. And then suddenly, it came out that it wasn't Wacom's drivers. It was Microsoft Ink that got updated and went absolutely skewy.
Yeah.
And a fix came out for it, but people managed to, do a text document workaround before the fix came out.
Right.
And it was an absolute nightmare. But we didn't have these problems before Microsoft started getting into the pen business, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Entrig.
Yeah.
Yeah, Entrig was definitely not the forerunner when they started out, but Microsoft saw something important there.
Well, I was surprised that Microsoft just didn't buy Wacom, but
yeah, personally, I was too. Am still a very huge Wacom fan. I think they make definitely the best product. For sure, it's the best.
Yeah.
However, Entrig's really close. Really
it's coming
close
along. I think definitely considering where it was when they bought it and where it is now.
Right. Yeah, it's a huge improvement.
But it's still got a way to go.
Yeah.
Still got a way to go. Funnily enough, if you read the wording in the Surface Go advert, it says best pen experience. That's the exact wording. But what does that mean? Does that mean best pen experience in the Surface range?
Right. Yeah, because
Are
it's
they
not going to.
boasting that it's the best pen experience on any device ever? I don't understand what that's boasting. I've asked Microsoft to clarify. They haven't come back with anything yet. I'm going to have to get one or go and try one somewhere, or I want to compare this to, other recent Surface range, the Surface Book 2, etc., the Surface Pro 4, and just see if it's different somehow. I mean, what does this claim mean? But just find something out.
I tried one yesterday, and it felt very, very similar to the Surface Book experience. Although I was using the Surface Pro 4 pen, and so the initial activation force was a lot higher.
Yeah.
And so it didn't seem to catch that low range, but I'm pretty confident it's a pen. But it felt like it's going to be very, very similar. And for $300, I mean, that's really pretty amazing.
I've got one of the new pens here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like them. They're nice to hold. They look nice. I like the feel of the tip on the screen.
Because when Microsoft sent me the Surface Book 2 to review, I had to give the Surface Book 2 back. But they said, keep
jerks.
the pen.
Yeah. Hey, thanks.
It's like, great, I'll use that.
You just tell them, I lost the Surface Book 2, but I'm sending the pen back. Sorry. So one difference between the Wacom and the N-Trig devices, the Surface line, for people who are not aware, that's the Surface line, and a lot of the new computers are N-Trig, is the pen doesn't allow you to remap the side button. You've got this button right here that only does one thing.
Yeah.
It's just whatever Windows tells you it does. But we're actually just about ready to take out of beta the Tablet Pro Pen tool, which allows you to remap that button. And if you have the Wacom Bamboo ink pen, you can remap the side buttons.
I have that.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent pen, and it working with both, and style is nice. I wish it was magnetic so it would snap on the side, because I actually really like not having to carry the pen in my pocket. But it is.
Remind me about that after this video.
Okay, yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is a very different experience. Like, one thing that Apple excels at is that one device does it all experience. And now that they've got the pencil that doesn't have a pencil holder, like Microsoft nailed it. I really like it being able to magnetically attach to the side. That's a fantastic feature.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, there's so many people with so many accessories for the Apple Pencil. I'm surprised, there's so many people who have, rubber grips and things like that.
Right.
But, or cases with built-in clips and.
Yeah, we should make a magnetic attaching.
Yeah, and
thing.
Buttons.
Yeah, and buttons. I know, there's no button. Why?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about it for me. It's like, well, give it buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't even give it an eraser.
Yeah.
I do like the nib. The nib is the coolest thing about it. Exactly.
It's a nib. My nib has been chewed on by my 2-year-old.
I saw a photo on Instagram of somebody's dog, somebody's nib whose dog had got hold of it. Somebody's, like tiny little puppy had got hold of their Apple Pencil.
Yeah, I bet it was gnarled up.
Oh yeah, it was a thing of beauty.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is with my Surface pen, which also has been chewed on by my daughter. You can't see this; it's not focused enough.
Just pull it back.
Yeah, she pulls out the tip, and she chews on this tip, and then I have to find it on the floor. I look like I've lost my contacts. Oh, I don't have contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she chews on that, and that thing actually gets destroyed. I've had to buy replacements. This one actually works quite well, even though, and this is Velcro. Ooh. And it still works quite well, even though she chews on it and it doesn't come out.
You just need to get some old-fashioned... Get some old-fashioned wooden pencils.
Yeah, and have her chew on the lead.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
This is why I'm a better father than Lawrence, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, but I did it when I was a kid. It's never hurt me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying give her that one that's pure lead.
Yeah. Oh, I've had those. They make your hands so dirty.
Yeah.
But they are cool. And somehow you feel special drawing with the eraser side. All right, so questions about Tablet Pro.
Yeah.
I say we're working on a version 3.
Yeah.
Which we hope to have come out. It would probably be probably mid-2019. But we're hoping to add a lot of really great features, a lot of really requested features that we have to kind of integrate from the ground up. And we're wanting to make it a very, very touch-friendly UI. So one thing that I noticed that programs have done for years is we put the menus at the top. You know, like the file menu goes across the top of the screen, and then for touch, that's not good. You know, touch, we want the menus on the side of the screen by your non-dominant hand's thumb.
Yeah, so you can switch it left-handed, right-handed.
Yeah, yeah. Right, so you can use the pen with one hand to make the selections, and you can choose between the options with your left hand, or vice versa.
Because you're holding it and you're using your font.
Right, yeah. If we're talking about optimizing that workspace and making it fast, I mean, fast is the goal. Fast and obviously consistent quality. So we're redesigning it to be really fast that way to allow for editing without opening the store app, which I think would make a lot of people happy. And then adding the ability for it to change per program. So you open up Photoshop and it automatically switches to Photoshop. And a lot of really cool features, including stylizing. So people can change the color of the buttons and the stroke and the background image and really make it look the way that they want.
The dark theme, is that the most requested feature?
That's my most. I'm like a dark theme fiend. Like everything dark themed. Like I want to paint my Surface Book 2 black just to make it dark themed.
Do you know something? If they'd have, I think their sales would have skyrocketed if they'd have done a dark version
of the Surface Book.
Yeah.
I like it so much better.
Fake iPhones in China, they did a red range of fake iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold so well that Apple ended up releasing, if you look at the new range of iPhones, there's a red iPhone now. And that all comes from the fact that the fake iPhones in China, they were red and they were just selling like hotcakes.
Yeah. Viva la China!
The fake stuff in China is just bizarre, but yeah. But I think, I don't know, how long has the Surface range looked like that? I don't know. Maybe time to just change it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, the Surface Pro 2 was black. The Surface Pro 1 was black.
Yeah.
Granted, it was not a nice black. Like it was kind of a little, in my opinion, is a little. I don't want to say ghetto because Microsoft, if you're listening, it did not age well.
I love the Surface Pro 2
like
Stylus though.
You like the Pro 2 Stylus?
Yeah.
I thought it was very good. Well, that's useful. I cried. I want you to know, in a very manly way, I cried when the Surface Pro 2, they abandoned it for the Surface Pro 3 N-Trig model. I was very upset that it was no longer Wacom.
Yeah. The Surface Pro 4 stylus I found was the most unusable. Because the buttons for me were almost, they were terrible. I just couldn't.
They were too flush.
Yeah, and too far down too far up, sorry. I kept having to move my hands, kind of squirrel my hands up the way.
This is the only part of the video people are going to remember is you doing this with your fingers. Hey, did you see Lawrence's video where he did this with his fingers?
Surface Pro, what's that? But I've got all the styluses here. I can easily do it. Surface Pro 3, 4, and the new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to, I'm drawing like this, but when I want to do the button, I had to do this.
Yeah, I always wanted to see if there's a way to make a button that went around the entire pen.
Yeah.
And so you would hold the pen normally, and then, yeah, like a ring, almost like a balloon, and you just hold on to it, and then when you wanted to press it, you just pressed anywhere.
See, with the 3, I could do it with my thumb at least.
Right.
I couldn't do that with a 4. The new one, I found I can go back to doing it with my thumb a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 4, yeah, it's too flush to do with my thumb because it makes the pen wobble too much. And it's just not in the right position. And I just, yeah, the kind of 4 stylus, yeah, it was just the worst one out of the lot. And I just, yeah.
Yeah, where you lost one button, and then the buttons got harder to push, or the button got harder to push. Yeah. And transition's hard, I guess, right?
Yeah. But I think the stylus is made for note taking, not for artists.
Right. Yeah. So it gives you a little clip to stick in your pocket.
Yeah. I think I'd like to see them create a stylus for creatives as a separate thing. I'm not having a go at Microsoft for their stylus because I understand it's not made for us.
Right.
Like the Wacom stylus is for creatives. This isn't.
Right.
But I would like to see a Microsoft stylus made for creatives.
Yeah. So what would that look like?
Like the Wacom stylus.
Exactly like the Wacom stylus.
It would obviously have to be flat on one side because you want it to have the magnetic.
Right.
Or have some kind of indentation because we all want the magnetic still. I understand that.
Right.
I'm not too bothered whether it has the clip or not. I don't think it needs it.
I don't think it needs a clip.
The button on the end, I'd still like an eraser, but I'm not too bothered. I think Wacom have done the 3D stylus, and it doesn't have an eraser on the end. But what they've done is they've moved that button from that eraser from the end and given you 3 buttons.
Right.
That actually works really well.
Yeah.
Because that allows people who don't use the eraser to have that other button for a different function.
Right. Yeah. You can just choose what you want to use it for instead of being told what to use it for.
It's a little more open-minded.
Yeah. Yeah. This is very telling of the different companies. It's like Wacom. They have all the buttons. They're just giving you all the options. Microsoft gives you one option. And Apple, they're like, no.
No,
we decide what you get.
Buttons. Knock it.
Yeah, no button. We decided people don't like buttons anymore. Like, wait, what?
But that's why I think something like Tablet Pro really works. If you've got a tablet with no hotkeys and no buttons, it makes it harder. And devices like the iPad Pro, which I haven't reviewed yet fully because for me, up until this point, it's really only had one application that's been for artists. But now we're getting to see applications, and I'm calling them applications now rather than apps because they are fuller applications. We're getting things like Flip Studio, but you need the shortcuts now. And I think now is the time for me to review an iPad Pro because of that.
Yeah, Apple, if you're listening, send Lawrence an iPad Pro.
Well, this is it. I'm just about to reach out to Apple and try and have this conversation. The trouble is, I think Apple's one of these companies where you need to know somebody. And I don't.
Yeah, I think so.
I've just noticed how much my hair at certain angles looks like the Hugh Jackman Wolverine. Time for a cut.
Or don't cut it and tape toothpicks to your fingers so they look like the retractable claws.
Better get eaten. Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
Get a man bun.
That could work.
Yeah, I'd have to fly back out to Cali though. It's the only place acceptable for a man bun.
Yeah.
Grab some sandals and fly out to Cali. So, shall we wrap this up and give our viewers a discount code for Tablet Pro?
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do is similar to that.
You go for it.
Because I haven't figured out how to do discount codes yet in the store. But I will, for the week after this video goes live, I will put the entire package instead of $54.99. I'll put the entire package in there for $17.99.
Cool. And
that includes all of the tools for Tablet Pro. And the install process is not as bad as we made it out to be.
No, it's not. It's not. If I can do it, anybody can.
There's two products. There's two products. It's the Windows Store app and the desktop app. And the whole thing takes about 2 minutes to install. And then you can ask me 1,000 questions in email, and I'm okay with it.
Cool. If everybody wants to put their comments below with feedback on the app and features you want to see for the next version, features you want to see in the iOS version when that comes out, later on in the year or beginning of next year, as you said, then go for it. I want to hear those suggestions. I want to hear feedback. And so does Justice as well. So brilliant, everyone. Thanks for coming. And thank you to Justice as well. I can't wait to see the next version. High five. Yeah. I shall see you all next time. That wraps this one up. Thanks for coming. See you all later and keep being creative.